Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome to a different sort of video. Some of you guys know I have been working on my 2010 roster build in NHL 25, and now what's kind of interesting is I am doing a little bit of a different approach this year, because I did find something that is really cool. And I think it will definitely help out a lot of you guys who are making throwback rosters. Now, so I normally do obviously all my attributes by myself and stuff like that. Obviously, I have like all my equipment information that I find on like Google Images and stuff like that, and facial details, that type of thing. However, attributes are not going to be decided by me this time because I did find out that ChatGPT actually could do it, which is kind of insane. If we head on over to this screen, you guys can see here on ChatGPT, basically what I've been typing up is build me former player so-and-so in NHL 25 based off the in-game individual ratings, overalls, player type, X factors, and potential for 2009-10, since this is a 2010 build, based on 07-08 to 2009-10. So then after I type in stuff like that, it literally spews out an overall rating for the player, a player type, the X factors that they maybe should get, and then also attributes for every attribute. Now, sometimes it doesn't list every single attribute, so you could literally just ask for it afterwards, but most of the time it gives you almost every attribute, which is nice. And then also it gives you a potential rating too when you type in that type of stuff. So you could literally get every single information you need for a throwback player like Jere Lehtinen. If I remove my face from the screen, you can see currently he's obviously a 50 overall. But literally once we input all these stats, so let's just go ahead and input these stats so you guys can kind of see, it actually almost equates to an 85 overall likely, which is what they have them at. So literally the ChatGPT actually knows basically how to build players in NHL. So you could literally use this for tons of different things. Like obviously you could use it for throwback rosters, but I know Crash Andrews is using it for a different reason. Like you could literally ask it tons of different questions when it comes to roster stuff. So if you wanted to know about people's contract information, you could literally ask ChatGPT about that, and it literally will give you all that information. So I think this is something definitely I'm going to use for most of my roster builds coming up, because a lot of these attributes that it's been giving me have actually made a lot of sense. Like when I made Zdeno Chara the other day, it literally was like, oh, 99 shot power, slap shot power. So it has like some knowledge of who has good slap shots. It also recommends for people, say like Antoine Vermette, to have actually good face-offs, which he had good face-offs in his career. So it knows how to read the stats, and then it just spews out overall ratings, which is awesome because it literally saves me a lot of time instead of having to kind of think in my head, what should I give this player? It will literally spew it out. Now, if these attributes it gives me basically doesn't reach the overall that it's actually telling me to, basically what I end up doing is I just basically add a couple points to each rating. So I'll go through every single rating again, add 1 point. If that's still not enough, add another point, and then basically just keep doing that until it actually reaches that overall rating. But it just seems to be a pretty accurate way of doing things. Like I'll show you a few other players after we get Jere Lehtinen done, just because I need to finish Jere Lehtinen anyways. And I'll show you guys what some of the other players in my roster build are looking like, because a lot of them have some interesting looking stats. I did tweet out one about Patrick Kane the other day, and literally it made Patrick Kane have terrible defense, which is really realistic. It made him have good like passing related stats and all that, which is awesome too. So it's I think it's actually one of the more accurate ways of doing rosters. Obviously, roster stuff like that is kind of like it's kind of almost your own opinion on things in a way. Like this, for instance, like ChatGPT tends to rate stuff like shooting categories, as you can see, a little bit lower than normal. It does power a little bit higher, it seems like, than accuracy on some players. Other players not so much. So it does definitely a little bit of a different system than I'm used to. Also, like, I don't know where it gets its face-off percentage off of or what, but like obviously for defenders it just gives them straight 50s. For forwards like Jere Lehtinen, who was not a face-off guy, it gives it to like a 60 to 68 sometimes. But for like wingers that actually played face-off, sometimes it's like 70 and above. And then you get those elite face-off guys that are actual centermen that are getting like 90 plus on the draw, which makes a ton of sense. So hypothetically, if I do this for my entire roster build, which I'm likely going to do, it should be really interesting to see how it simulates in like franchise mode and such this year, because Obviously, this is a lot different than my normal method. My normal method, I do it in my head. But what's kind of interesting is some of the ratings that I've been coming up with before I started using this were very similar. Like, I've been adjusting some of the players I made beforehand, and some of the players I made literally were almost identical to the ChatGPT ones. Like, there's a couple changes, but not by much. Most of the changes were in like the shooting areas and such, it seems like, and like maybe the awareness. But other than that, it seems like it really knows what it's actually doing, which is pretty friggin' sick, if I'm being honest. So I know a lot of people don't really trust AI, but I think literally AI could be really good for things like this, which is really, really cool. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated to get Jere Lehtinen made, but we will get him made just because might as well show you guys what attributes it's giving me. But literally, you could type in like any season, and it'll literally probably do that. So you could get like information if you wanted to make like Guy Lafleur for a franchise mode or something like that, or a legend that wasn't in the game. You could literally just probably try and get it to calculate for you, which is pretty sick. Okay, a couple more attributes. We got discipline. What is discipline at? 87, which makes a lot of sense. Jere Lehtinen did not take a lot of penalty minutes in his career. Fighting skill 45 because he never fought in his career, so I guess it just wants it way down there, which makes a lot of sense. And stick checking, he was a great takeaway guy. I know it's already going to give it a high rating, I think. Let me see, what did it give it at? 92, yeah. See, it understands. It understands, which is pretty friggin' sick. And you can see it comes out to an 83. Meanwhile, on the rating on the actual thing, it says an 85. So basically, in that sense, I literally just go through each attribute and add 1 to it until it gets up to an 85. And once it's at an 85, he is pretty much ready to go. See, he's already an 85. I'll just add everybody 1 attribute, and he's an 85 overall and ready to go. And it's just easy like that. So I'll assign him quickly here to Dallas, so that way we can get him on to the Dallas Stars. But I will show you guys some of the other players, what they're looking like. You can see I've already made a ton of players. Like, I'm already on Dallas, obviously. So there is not a ton of teams left to go. Let me move my face back onto the screen here. Now that we are off that part, I meant to put it on earlier, but it is okay. This is kind of a spare moment video, so hopefully I don't sound too scrambly. I just wanted to make a video on this because I know some people in my Discord and on Twitter were wondering about this and how it works and all that. So I thought I would show you guys. So there we go, Lehtinen signed to Dallas. So I'll show you guys a couple players that I've already made and adjusted their stuff based on ChatGPT, so you guys can see how good the ratings actually are. Now, I haven't done the Ducks yet, so I'll have to go through those guys at a different time. But if we go to, say, like Columbus, for instance, with Rick Nash, it recommended me to make him a very good shooter, as you can see. Not as strong defensively, but you can see he's also a good skater. He's also got good physical stuff for his size, obviously. Good passing stats, great deking too, which is awesome. So it must know something about that goal he scored back in 2009, I think it was, or maybe it was during this season. I honestly don't remember. But also for guys like Christian Huselius, who obviously is a little bit more of an intriguing player, a player that isn't a superstar but is good. It recommended me giving him good passing related stats and made him a playmaker, which is exactly what I had him as before I even went into ChatGPT. So that's pretty awesome. Also, you can see it makes like skilled players like him not as good physically, so it literally makes everything quite a bit realistic. Somebody like Antoine Vermette, who's a great face-off man, it told me to make him have 90 face-offs and great defensive awareness, better than he is offensively. Also good speed and skating too, which is definitely like Antoine Vermette, if I remember right, with the Sens. But if we head to somebody like, say, Calgary, with Jarome Iginla here, you can see Jarome Iginla, they said, hey, good shooting, good physical, skating a little bit less, but then you have solid defense. Like, to me, a lot of these attributes just make a ton of sense. And even the X Factors, I haven't necessarily done any of the X Factors that it's recommended, but a lot of the X Factors that it has recommended have been realistic too. If we head to Chicago, like I was mentioning before, you can see Patrick Kane has an 89 overall medium franchise. I normally have him as a high elite, but they wanted him as a franchise. But this was the one that I tweeted out, and you can see this is perfectly like Patrick Kane. He's got the good shooting categories, especially on the wrist shot department. His offensive awareness and his passing, fantastic, great skater. But you see he has no physical, and he has no defense whatsoever as well. So for some reason, ChatGPT just knows how to make players, and it's friggin' awesome. So that's like the short little video I wanted to make for this. I think you guys will enjoy using ChatGPT if you decide to do that for your rosters. If you don't, obviously your attributes might be similar anyways to what ChatGPT has, but I think it literally could make a really fun roster build, so that's why I'm doing it for my rosters this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it simulates, because once the entire league's done, like, are we going to see somebody that, like, I don't know, Dennis Weidman, who I made an offensive defenseman, are we going to see him being a Norris Trophy winner, or is it actually going to be realistic results and that type of thing? So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.